when it comes to NPCs is now that you kind of described what it was. I had a friend that used to own one where you would tap it, but you'd be playing like a game as well while you're doing it. Like it would be like a little boxing game.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Is that
it's like a pocket, like the pocket ones, and they're just like this big, right? Yeah.
You recommend
the OP,
those?
Excuse me. I think it's like the OP something, OP33. Forget Teenage Instruments. I think that's the brand.
Those they look dope, you know.
Yeah.
But
it looked like a fun little, like, I wouldn't call them a toy. I think they could be useful, but you know, like maybe the audio quality is pretty gnarly.
Welcome back to Chocolate Espresso Podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Newair. What a float your fancy. You guys know what time it is. It's my favorite time. It's the interviews, baby. It's the interviews. You know, I'm going to let my guy introduce himself.
Hello. Go by the name of Pine. I'm a beat maker. Some call me the man amongst the trees. So, yeah, that's how I'm going to introduce myself.
You know, I got a little short question, though. I mean, where'd the name come from, man? It's a beautiful name.
Thank you. Yes, I got a good story behind it. It's actually just my Vietnamese name translated to English. So, shout out to my parents for that one.
You know, you don't hear that too much anymore. You know, some people they don't like, they just have an American name and they don't go too far into their heritage.
They just like leave it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I really I always connected with the meaning behind it, and I always like thought about like why'd they name me that, you know. So, and I'm a little bit of a nature boy. Like I like hiking and stuff like that, so you know, it goes along with my interests essentially.
Well, that's what's up, man. I had mad respect for people who keep their culture in their name and in their heart. You know, you don't hear that too much anymore in America. So, America does a pretty good job of removing culture from people.
So I'm grabbing that back, right?
That's right. Take it back. So you said you were a producer, right?
Beat maker.
Oh, so okay.
First and foremost, I'm gonna say I'm a beat maker. That's
what's the difference?
The difference, beat maker, I would say, it's the role of simply just making the background to the recording artist, the actual performing artist, to write over, and then the producer's role is more so to outline and structure and coordinate the artist to create a track. So sometimes I can do the producer role. I've done that a few times in my life, and I definitely do enjoy it, but it's not something that I wake up wanting to do every day. It's not really like what I feel driven to do. Rather, you know, just be making beats.
No, that makes sense. It's always interesting because I think when you think of music, a lot of people don't understand like the difference and like the roles that people have, let alone what the roles are. You know, I think a lot of people just, open Spotify, YouTube Music, whatever, click on the song and they just jam to it, not knowing that sometimes there might be like 6 people involved on that one little track.
There's a whole band to it.
You know, it's crazy. I've never known until I met somebody and, knowing someone that was in the industry, and they're like, nah, sometimes I made this part of the track, and then, or they sent me part of the song and I had to redo like some of the stuff on it. And I'm just like, okay, it sounds great,
right?
Because that's my role in it, just to listen to it,
Right.
Out of curiosity, you ever had somebody come and they're like, yo, I got a song, but I have no music. Like, do you have anything that would work with what I wrote or what I sung?
Yeah, like they have the lyrics and they have like the idea concept of like what they want the song to be, right? Yeah. And that's kind of like been in situations where I was also asked to be somewhat of a producer for a project. And yeah, it's fun to step up and kind of do a little bit more than just the beat making and really be a part of somebody's vision. in that way, it's a bigger challenge, more so, because beat making, if you're just making beats, you can just go with whatever you feel that day, or whatever project that you're working on. But if somebody comes to you and they ask you to make something specifically how they want it, it's like, I would say it's the difference between working as a graphic designer or like a painter, It's a completely different mentality.
So do you think that in like some of these cases with these artists that they can do it without the producer?
Yeah, I think good art can be made without a producer. 100%. But I think like making maybe I don't know, like a generic pop song. Like if you wanted something really like cookie cutter and like formulaic, where it's gonna hit the clubs hard, or like, just trying to get big numbers, probably it's gonna be easier to do that with an actual producer. Not to say it's impossible to do it without one, but yeah.
So does it feel like one hit bands could do it? Like somebody can, like maybe they come up to you and they're like, yo, I already got the song, I made it, I got the lyrics, I got the beat, I just need somebody to mix and master it. And if I learn how to do that, I mean, I wouldn't even need you. Like, how does that, you ever had somebody come up to you and like, I already did everything, I just need you to finalize it for me,
Yeah, just like fill in the missing pieces. So like one of the things I do is mentor at In Progress, and every once in a while, it's just for everybody, I guess, who doesn't know, it's a nonprofit studio in St. Paul, where people can apply to become artists there, and they can get mentorship for free. So definitely look into that if you're interested in that and are in the area. I'm one of the music mentors over in that studio. So yeah, there I definitely get the chance to do a lot of kind of rounding out certain artists' projects. Sometimes people are just really coming in for the first time into recording, but then sometimes I get people who just need some help with the final touches on their work. And it's fun to do that.
So do you feel like when it comes to producing, like I know some producers get paid 50% up front rather than on the back end. Like what's that about?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, personally, I've worked a lot just pro bono, but knowing that that's a common scenario, I think it seems reasonable to me, because we're setting the tone for the record. And we may not be out there performing or doing a lot of the things that you see when the music goes out, but we're still a part of it, so a big part of it. Yeah.
So I don't know too much about some of the technology used in studios, but what's an NPC and do you own one?
Yeah, I do. An NPC is a specific device that you can make beats with. That's actually what I started out with, an MPC studio, which connects to a laptop. The older versions, Akai has been making these MPCs for quite some time. Did not, use a computer, but the one I do have does. I definitely blame it for getting me into beat making. I tried making beats just with like Fruity Loops a long time ago, like 10 years before I actually got into really beat making, and it didn't really ever really stick for whatever reason. But just like with the MPC, you get to physically tap to make the drum patterns. You know, there's these pads, we call them pads. There's typically 16 pads on an MPC, and I'm sure everybody has seen what I'm talking about, how I'm describing it. But people get to physically play out a drum beat. You know, of course, it's not like anything like an actual drum, but it gets close enough to where it engages you a little bit more than just clicking on a computer, which, you know, I'm not going to knock that either. I actually do that occasionally, but to, you know, really engage, I think it's a proper way to start getting into beat making if other methods have failed you.
Do you feel like when it comes to NPCs, is now that you kind of described what it was, I had a friend that used to own one where you would tap it, but you'd be playing like a game as well while you're doing it. Like it would be like a little boxing game.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Is that
it's like a pocket, like the pocket ones, and they're just like this big, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You recommend those?
Excuse me. I think it's like the OP something, OP33. Forget Teenage Instruments. I think that's the brand.
Those are, they look dope, you know.
Yeah.
But
it looked like a fun little, like, I wouldn't call them a toy. I think they could be useful, but you know, like maybe the audio quality is pretty gnarly.
I think it's one of those things where it's like if they invested more in something else, the product would be a little bit better, but it's definitely a niche thing to have, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like, that's the cool thing about making beats, though, is that you can integrate a lot of low fidelity equipment into your production, and you can make it work because there's not a lot of rules that limit that. So, you know, beat making was born off of just like sampling and low fidelity recordings.
So, you know, this sounds like there's some other technology you use. I mean, how does your workflow look like if you got to manage so many different components?
Right now, I've really simplified it. So, yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of different exploring of my process, and right now I'm literally just making beats off of my iPad and iPhone with GarageBand. And I have a keyboard that I can connect to my iPad and my iPhone to play out the drums. But yeah, it's pretty simplified. I'm doing a lot of sampling and just like random sounds, records. It's abstract, yeah.
So like when people are comfortable with some of the beats they make, they tend to stick with like you know, some people are like, no, I make Afro beats, or like I'm really good at like hip hop beats, you know. Like, do you ever step outside your comfort zone and make music outside your genre? And if you do, which ones would you prefer?
I've dabbled in a little bit of house music. I think I could, I mean, like, yeah, my foundation is hip hop beats, but yeah, I could step into that and just see myself doing house music for a while. I could also do jazz, I think. I think someday I would really actually like to learn how to play jazz piano, jazz guitar, and like just go all the way with that. But time will come.
I would love to. Maybe I should go to like Guitar Center or something and see if I can interview one of those old cats that's been there for 10, 15 years. Because nobody ever considers or thinks about like, oh, it's just a guitar, like,
Right.
oh, yeah, like, why is this guitar worth $300 and this one's worth almost $1,000 and the other one's worth like $800? Like, it could sound slightly different because of the materials and how it's made, but like the average person doesn't care, but
I mean, some people.
it's. I will say this, the right tool in the right person's hand will make it sound 10 times better than the same tool in the wrong person's hand. I have to admit that, and I would love to have like those kind of deeper conversations with a few people in different aspects of it, because you can learn how to play a guitar phenomenally. Like you could be on stage working for a band, and you can't play outside your genre because you don't know any of the the tempo or the melodies, and it doesn't click for some people. It could be hard. I played in band for 9 years, and if you asked me to try to play something outside of any of the structured music I was used to playing, I'd look at you like you're crazy. I was like, nah, I'm not a professional. Like, I can't just look at a sheet of music and play that, like it's going to take me some, not to say that, every professional can just pick up whatever, but anyway, I got a little off topic there, but
no, that's fine. Yeah. It's like, going to trying different genres is like, it's almost like picking up a whole new passion, it's a whole new realm, whole new world. How you're making it is different. Like what you're doing, is going to be different. Like say, I did step into becoming like a jazz instrumentalist. Like my connection and the way that I express music, my whole process would be changed. Yeah.
It's a whole other ball game.
Definitely.
How many beats do you think you create in a day?
So whenever I sit down and do a session for making beats, these days 2 to 3 skeletons of the beats. I'm not gonna finish them, but I get like definitely try to get a foundation, and then come back to it, finish it up some other time. And that's like a whole different kind of session. I'll delegate like time to just focus on finishing stuff. It's either creating a batch of new stuff, or like tidying or completing, whatever you want to call it.
So for the next question, I have to ask you another question. So do you prefer samples over originals? And what does that even mean to you?
Right now, I'm enjoying samples just because it just works with this little experiment that I'm doing with my process. So
what is
I
a
like
sample?
both.
But what's a like? Are you what's a sample?
Sample is just taking anything that's already been produced and making it into a whole nother thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Original, of course, it's pretty straightforward, right? You're just writing your own work, recording something that's not been recorded before.
So when you when you create beats, and let's say it's from a sample,
right?
Do you create a sample of that beat to sell, or do you create the whole like song before you sell it? If that kind of makes sense. Like there are some people I met that are like, no, I make 30 seconds, and if they like it, great, I can expand on that because I can just repeat the beat, or I can adjust it as we go. But if I created the whole beat and they only want 15 seconds of it and then make me recreate it, I just wasted.
Oh, right. So like making like a small portion of a track. Yeah. Sometimes I just make like a short loop, and that works because yeah, sometimes they have their own producer, or sometimes they will have their own idea of how they want to complete the beat. And yeah, sometimes even recording artists, rappers, singers, they kind of have that like producer instinct, and they have the capability to take a small loop or a small part of your beat and add on layers to it. And like, they don't have any beat making experience. They wouldn't want to make the beat. They wouldn't want to make the loop, but they know how to take a loop and like expand it perfectly to their liking and like essentially do their own tailoring. And I'm all for that, you know, in the right scenario. Sometimes I make beats and I'll have a whole vision for it, and I'll have the whole song, you know, 3 minutes with different sections, you know. I want the chorus to be here, I want the bridge to be here, I want the outro to be like this, I want there to be like a beat switch up, you know. Normally I get pretty set once I've created something like that. I don't want them to just like take a little chunk of it and make it their own, because it's like kind of going against what I thought I had for it. You know. So yeah, it's situational, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel about producers rapping over their own beats?
To be completely honest, I tend to like work that involves collaboration. Yeah. I don't know if I'm biased, maybe. I'm not a rapper, so, you know, maybe if I got into that, like, I would change my mind. I don't know.
But that's like, I mean, that's an expansion back to the whole, you came to me with everything already done. Why are you coming to me then? You know, maybe you should just learn how to mix and master while you're at it. So everything's done the way you want. I don't know. I've personally never met one, but I've heard people do it. And one guy said, you know, you sound like a SoundCloud rapper.
Sometimes it's just, I mean, it is a pain in the butt to like work with people sometimes, and it's like, you know, I understand why some people are just like, no, I just want to do it by myself, but like, I think you're always gonna have a better product if you collaborate with people and have people do their different areas, and especially if everyone coming to the table is able to focus on that, like they have their own focus and specialty with sound engineering, production, beat making, and the recording, performing artist, or lyricist. But of course, you know, like with a lot of people just doing this underground, you know, outside of an industry, like it's not always possible to have that. And I don't think there should be any rules to like how you can make music. So, you know, I just think ideally if you can put together a team, it's better for you.
So do you feel like producers should support the artists?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't know, if you're working with somebody, I think, you know, any sort of art, you should always be supporting what you believe in and like, and not be too cool about it.
This next question, I still struggle to remember what this is, but it's analog or in the box 100%. So
like, kind of like analog or software, I'm just gonna assume something like that. I used to be like a person who like wanted to shift everything to analog because I thought it would be worth it to just make it sound better, but now I guess I think a blend is good. I mean, when it comes to sound engineering, I think if I had the capability to use all analog, I would love to have that experience sometime. But yeah,
You know,
I don't overthink it anymore. I used to really think hard about that, but
I mean, think about like all the stuff that would have to go into
yeah,
analog, you know, like you got to have the instrument and then you got to record it and then you need an extremely quiet spot. And then what if you don't like that one
Power
part?
source.
You know, it's like
upkeep of all the equipment. It's a lot. Yeah,
it's a lot.
Yeah.
Some people do it. Some people are like, it's even like directors in some movies are like,
Yeah.
I don't want CGI. I want to build the whole thing and I want it to, you know, it's going to look good. Trust me.
Yeah.
And then now the cost of this production just went sky high, or it's
Right.
going to be the same as CGI. So they're like, I'd rather just build it and take the chance. You know, this is high risk on. I've seen it, and it's. I don't know. I think there's so much that goes into a lot of this that people just aren't aware of. And again, like you said, you know, you got to get the equipment, and then you got to maintain it, you got to store it, and then you got to know how to on top of it, play it, or find somebody who knows how to play it. And if it isn't you playing it, can they really do exactly what you wanted from it? You know,
Right.
it's so much.
You know, that's funny because, like, I think before the interview, I was just talking to you about, like, you know, I do think, you know, it's kind of like the saying where people say somebody should always have the experience of, like, working in a restaurant just to know how they feel. Like, I think everybody should work, or all musicians, all artists should have the experience of buying their own equipment, some equipment here and there, so they know like what they're paying for, you know, in the long run when they go to the studio, and people have upwards of $30,000-$40,000 worth of equipment. I don't know, that's probably just bare minimum, right? And having to, you know, take care of all that is, yeah.
Oh yeah, there's what's the old story? The turn it up to 11. You ever heard of that?
No.
It's back in the old day when you had rock bands and indie bands and stuff like that, and when Elvis was in the studio, apparently turn it up to 11 was the akin of when you were in the recording studio and you're like, oh, can you turn the mic up a little bit more? And they would just dial it one more, and then you keep saying, no, a little bit more. I don't like what I sound. And it's a fake number that does nothing, and it's just 11. Just turn up a little bit more, and it doesn't actually work. It's the same thing if you're like listening to music and you're like, oh, I just need a little bit louder. It's like, no, it never gets louder, but you just feel like because it's one extra number,
Right.
it's a little bit better. It's like, no, those who know, 11 is fake. It doesn't get any louder, doesn't really help. It's just a fake number to make you feel better. And usually after you put it to 11, they're like, yeah, that's it. It's like, it's all propaganda, man.
It's a hoax, it's a scam.
You know, but it's like you said, like if you were behind the scenes and you actually knew how the process is and what the equipment does, you probably wouldn't be like, oh, can you turn me up a little bit more? Or, you know, hey, you know, I feel like this could be better. It's like, you don't realize how much time it's going to take me to.
Right.
I will do it because I'm getting paid, but I just want you to know it's not really that necessary. But
the importance of trust, not overthinking it, right?
That's right. It kind of already answered this one, but real instruments are MIDI instruments. I'm not sure that was the similar one as analog. How many artists would you say you worked with?
I'm going to just throw out a random number on that one.
Sounds like a lot.
I'm going to say 20. I don't know.
That's not bad. You know what? I've met people who are like, I've been doing this for like 10 years and I maybe did 100. I'm like, you know, either you've had reoccurring clients and that's pretty solid. You know, I think a lot of people would rather have the same ones come back, or they don't come back and you have to keep grasping for more work. You know, and some people like that. They're like, no, I want to work with new people, or you know, I'm strictly contract based. So you know, whoever comes through my door, I help them out. And you know, this is just this thing I do on the side. It's different for everybody, but you know, I got to pay the bills one way or another. What do you have coming up next?
So yeah, I think I talked a little bit about the project I'm working on, just making beats on the phone. You know, I'll go get some records someday, and I we'll try to pick records and tapes that, like, I don't know, look like they haven't been sampled, right? And then take them home, vibe out to them, kind of get some inspiration, make some tea, make some coffee, get some snacks. It's my day off, you know. That's where the sampling begins, essentially. And I'll just use my little phone. I'm just on my phone on my couch, hanging out, making drum patterns, sampling. Try to do 2 to 3 a day. So I think I've got about 8 skeletons right now. So it's like I just need to clean them up, finish them, put out a little beat tape, which you'll be able to find on my IG, just VIN, 4 underscores, then LU is just my name. That's where you can find my work.
Thanks for checking out Chocolate Espresso Podcast. Don't forget to hit up our guy, Pine. You can find him on Instagram. Peace.
Peace.